Hey, this is Brian with Stout Repairs in Ennekon Rocky Mountain here in Billings, Montana. Today we are going to be removing this old epoxy stone overlay with a logo and replacing it with a quartz broadcast floor. Stick around and we'll show you how we do it. Just want to show kind of generally what these epoxy stone overlays look like once you take them off. You can tell with this one they apparently did do a little bit of grinding on this. There's a little bit of a scratch in here, but this just took me maybe 2 hours to take off about 75-80 square feet of this, and you can see generally the only areas that actually adhered are these, where some of this this backing material is still adhered, but as best I can tell, it doesn't look like there's really too much of a primer done or anything. We just took probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 300 pounds off of this, and it was, anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick. What we're going to do with this now is grind the rest of this backing material off of here, hit it with the diamond grinder afterward, and then do some fixing on some of these spalled areas that it looks like we're just kind of left with the last one. So anyway, we're gonna get to working on this one and hopefully get the first lift of quartz on this afternoon. Okay, so I managed to get everything kind of cleaned up on here. I thought I was gonna have to break out the diamond brush attachment to take some of that backing off, but was able to take it off with the 7-inch Metabo with this wheel, which seems to work pretty well a lot of the time, and it usually manages to put a pretty good scratch in the concrete, which I don't know if you can really see that, but there is quite a bit of heavy spalling all over this, really, especially out here toward the edge, that I'll have to go ahead and fix. But I'll go ahead and use the Stout Repairs quick fix concrete repair material with a little bit of fine sand. Get these all filled in, and then it'll be ready to grind off here shortly and get to coating. All right, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to pre-fill some of these deeper spalled areas like this with some fine sand, and then we're going to use Stout Repairs quick fix. It's a 2-part extremely fast setting epoxy material that basically allows us to make some of these minor spall repairs very, very quickly with a low viscosity material that'll wick into the concrete, and it sets up in about 30 seconds or so as a liquid. When you mix it with the sand, it'll take maybe 5 or 10 minutes for it to really kind of start to harden. And then within about 15 to 20 minutes, we're grinding it off and ready to go for the next coat. The reason for that, the benefit of that, is that we don't have to wait until the next day like we would with a lot of other repair materials. In order to go ahead and do our next coat, we can basically call this cured enough, get it ground off so that it looks up the next coat, and move right on to doing a build-up. Usually what we do is we use just a condiment bottle, a cheap one from everybody's favorite store. These are about $1 a piece. This is a 1-to-1 mix. Basically, you just pour the two together and go for it. Once you mix these two together, though, you do not have a lot of time to play around, especially where I'm in the sun here. So I will go ahead and get started. What we want to to do really here is build it up slightly higher than the rest of the surface. And then we'll go back in and grind it off nice and smooth, and you won't even be able to tell it's here when it's done. So once the two of those hit each other, the clock is ticking with this stuff. I've got about 45 seconds to a minute to get rid of it out of this bottle before it basically have a block. So give this a quick mix here, just to make sure everything's mixed together, and then we go to fill in all these little holes. So I think I got most of the bigger spots. The nice thing with the system that we're doing today is that it's a very high build, and it'll kind of tend to fill in a lot of this stuff. But just for consistency's sake and for a nice surface finish when we're done, we want to get this as smooth as possible right out of the gate. I can already see that some of this is starting to cure up, so it won't take long in the sun here, of course, for this to be done, and we'll grind it off. Alright, now we get that all ground off, and also went ahead and vacuumed everything, got it all nice and cleaned up here, so that we get rid of any of the dust. If you take a look at this, basically all these little areas that have been patched have basically just kind of a grayish green tint to them, but they're all scratched off now and ready to go, so this is a much smoother surface than we started with. It is the 13th of June here in Billings, Montana, and our temperature on the ground right now looks like 87 degrees, about 82 over in the shade, 78, so we're between 80 and 90 degrees. I've gone ahead and mixed up the material that we'll be using as the epoxy binder here, and also the primer, which is Enocon's Durafil product, which is a 100% solids no-black epoxy. We use it for patching, we use it for coatings, we use it for all sorts of different things. What I've gone ahead and done here, since the university here would like a tan sand, I don't know if you can see that, but I've gone ahead and tinted this material tan for this first coat. That makes sure that anywhere that if we happen to have a little area that didn't get as much sand or something like that, that the color is all uniform all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and get this poured out on the floor, and I'm going to go ahead and use a brush, cut in the edges, and we'll push it around and get it rolled out. On a larger project, I would normally be wearing my spiked shoes for this. This is such a small area that we don't really have to worry worry too much about it. I can pretty much just push things around and then get off of it and roll it. Without really the need for that. Alright, now that we have this all rolled out and relatively consistent, you can see we have a nice, fairly uniform tan color here. It's kind of a backdrop for what we're going to do next, which is throw a specialty tan colored quartz flooring sand that we use. It's specific to the customer here that they decided they would like. And we're going to throw this on to rejection. What we've got is, and I don't know if you can see this, hopefully you can. What we have is this nice uniform fine grain tan sand. What we want to do is put sand on this until it basically won't take any more. Alright, so I went ahead and put out about a pound a square foot here, maybe slightly less right now. So we put out probably 60-65 pounds of sand on this. So what I'll do is I'll let this sit for a couple minutes and then I'll come back. And anywhere that I see that it has soaked up and I can see the epoxy through the sand, I'll go ahead and add a little bit more. Then we'll clean up and be back tomorrow. We'll clean the excess sand off. We'll go ahead and strain that and we'll reuse it again, but we'll do a second lift on this of the exact same thing tomorrow. Then the following day we'll come back and clean it off again, clear coat it to lock everything down, and you'll have a nice kind of semi-glossy but very textured floor when it's all said and done. Okay, so it's day 2. I've already come back and cleaned all of this off. I vacuumed it up and kind of swept things off. Also went through and cut a couple of reliefs in the stair edge here so that water can drain out just in case, because it is a little bit raised from the rest of the surface. Didn't want to take the top of the stair edge off just for aesthetics. We're trying to make this look good and save kind of what's left of this epoxy overlay that goes the rest of the way down the stairs over here. You can see behind the sand that's not been cleaned off basically what stayed, and you can see a little bit of the tan tint of that base color showing through. What we're going to do today is put another lift on this. That'll help to even out the color a little bit, even out the texture a little bit. It also gives it a higher build-up to make it a little bit more durable. These are very, very hard-wearing floors. It basically as a result of them using the sand as the wear surface. Really the epoxy is the binder in this case, just kind of holding that sand together. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and spread this out. It's gonna be just like yesterday, outside of the fact that it'll be just clear resin today. We'll throw the sand on the exact same way, and then tomorrow come clean it off and clear coat it for a finish. Okay, it's the next morning. I'm just kind of getting here and getting set up. We did get a little bit of rain yesterday afternoon. Some thunderstorms kind of rolled through, so a little bit of water got on some of this sand, but I think we're pretty safe. Everything looks reasonably good so far. So quite a bit of junk in the sand and all that, but usually that doesn't make it down to the coating itself. So I'm gonna drink a little bit of my coffee and work on getting this all cleaned off and ready to go for clear coat. Okay, so we did end up with a little bit of texture difference out here where the rain was kind of hitting. I've already started to scrape on this to kind of level it back out. This is part of the reason we do 2 lifts of this too, is just in case we get weather. It did start to sprinkle basically right after I put the second coat of resin on here, and it raised a few spots here. I'm gonna go ahead and work on this. We'll get it scraped off, and hopefully get the texture kind of back to matching everything else here before clear coating, and that'll kind of bring the brown color back. This is kind of one of those things that happens with exterior work. So we just kind of deal with it as we go. I don't foresee it being a big issue with the life of the coating or the integrity of it at all. So anyway, I'm gonna get this cleaned up and ready to go for that final clear coat, and it should look good. Okay, so I did end up with a little bit of a texture difference here just from the rain and the wind last night. Kind of got to this before it had fully cleared up. So what I did is I went ahead and got all the excess sand cleaned off. And then I went through and gave this a scrape, kind of took off all the variations in texture kind of out here past where the overhang of the building is. And now we're going to go ahead and put on a high wearing urethane clear coat on this. This will help with the UV stability of the epoxy, which generally isn't a huge issue with this type of system, but just to make sure that everything stays looking good. It also provides kind of a wear surface, a little less likely to get scuffed and that sort of thing. And then it can also be redone if needed. Since we had a little bit of texture variation in this, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more of the sand into the top coat and back roll it, which would normally serve to give us a little bit more anti-slip. We usually don't need it with this, but with this I'm just trying to make sure that we get the same texture kind of throughout. All right, we're only about an hour into this morning, and we're already done, even after kind of taking care of the little texture issue that we had. I'll walk up here and show you what this looks like when it's all said and done. Nice overcast, cooler morning today. Actually, our humidity is a lot lower, which is good because we can get this put on that much quicker. So as we walk up here, you can kind of see what the finished product looks like. We use this on pool decks a lot. It's good for locker rooms, exterior entrances like this, and different things like that. Anywhere you want a good texture and something that's going to wear really well. You can see these reliefs that I cut in the stair edge here to allow the water to drain out. Put 3 of them in, and then you can kind of see the general texture of the floor here. So it's got kind of a rougher sandpaper grit, but the sand is actually round grain, so it's not hard on your feet or anything if you happen to be barefoot. Anyway, that is it for this one. It looks great. Got rid of the logo that they wanted to get rid of with that old epoxy overlay, and hopefully move on to some other work for these guys. If you're in the Billings, Montana area and you need a project completed, give me a call, 406-530-5295, or visit our website at www.stoutrepairs.com and anaconrockymountain.com.